Hi everyone, thank you all so much for joining us today for our 2023 Salary Report webinar. My name is Asmita and I'm the Senior Data Analytics Manager at Charity Job. I've been with Charity Job for just over 6 months and have over 12 years of experience working in data analytics across various industries, including the charity sector.
And my name is Lucy and I'm Research Manager at Charity Job. So I've been with Charity Job for a year now, and prior to that I had a background in government social research. We're also joined with Claire, who's Marketing Director at Charity Job, and Claire's going to help facilitate the Q&A at the end of the webinar. We're just going to turn off our cameras now so you can focus on the slides, but we'll turn them back on at the end of the webinar. So for those of you who don't know us, Charity Job is the largest specialist recruitment site for the UK charity sector. And we firmly believe that offering fair salaries is not only essential for attracting and retaining top talent, but it's also essential for promoting diversity, equality and inclusion in the charity sector. We believe in offering fair salaries, and for that reason, we've produced a salary report which uses data from all jobs posted on our website in 2022 to provide insights into average salaries across the sector. The findings from this report, which we will talk through today, are especially relevant because of the candidate-driven market we've been in, which Asmita and I will go on to talk about more. So I just wanted to go through a few bits of housekeeping before we kick off. So firstly, you should be able to see our webinar slides at the moment. The slides should move through the webinar with us. However, if they do go out of sync at any point, a sync to presenter button will appear in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. So you can press that button to sync the slides back to where we're at. As I mentioned, we will have time for some Q&A at the end of the webinar. Please use the Q&A function on Teams to leave your questions. So if you're joining on the Teams app, this should be on the banner at the top of your screen. However, if you're joining on your phone, it should be on the bottom right-hand corner. So Claire will be keeping an eye out for questions and we'll try to answer as many of these as possible in the Q&A session at the end. So don't worry if you don't get an immediate response to your question. And if we don't get around to your question, we will follow up with you directly after the webinar. Just to note that this webinar is being recorded, so please only share your questions if you're happy for them to be on the recording. And finally, we will be sharing a recording of this webinar and the webinar slides, as well as a copy of the salary report to everyone who registered later today. So here's a quick overview of what we'll be talking about today. So we'll start off by talking about the methodology, so how we compiled the salary report. We will then talk through some of the key market trends we found from our data, before moving on to talk about salary trends in our main job categories. So for example, fundraising, admin, and so on. And lastly, we will share some insights into our candidates from research that we've undertaken within the last few months. So we will talk about what we know charity job candidates want from the recruitment process. And then we will also talk about the benefits and perks that charity job candidates receive in their current jobs and are looking for in future roles. We should have around 10 to 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. And we aim to be wrapping up at around 50 minutes.
So we're now going to take you through how we put this report together, as well as some things to keep in mind when we're going through the report. The findings we talk about today are based on 61,900 UK charity and not-for-profit job vacancies posted on the Charity Job website in 2022. We've only chosen to report on areas where there has been interesting or significant change. The data included in this webinar and in the report covers the job categories with the highest number of jobs. We will go over these in a minute. At some points today, we will also compare to data from 2019, and this is to give an idea of how the recruitment market has changed since pre-pandemic times. The majority of jobs posted on our website were based in London and the southeast of England. This is because more than half of the UK workforce is based in the south of England. Salaries outside of London tend to be lower than those for London-based roles. In this report, we also refer to charity sizes as small, medium, and large. For the purpose of this report, these have been classified by headcount as follows. Small charity is 20 or fewer employees. Medium is 21 to 100 employees. And large is 101 and more employees. Within the categories in the report, we have specified salaries by experience level. So these are in accordance with how these jobs are categorized by recruiters when they post a job. The data presented in this report is based on a huge number of jobs posted on our site in 2022 and has been reviewed by a team at Charity Job. We are confident that it reflects the sector closely. Nevertheless, it's important to note that the categorization of job roles is dependent on how recruiters classify the jobs they post on our site, which may not be without some errors. To mitigate this, we've removed any categories that are based on only a small number of roles. Throughout the report, we will also talk about demand, and there are two types. Firstly, candidate demand, which we measure by looking at the average number of clicks on the apply button a job gets. And two is recruiter demand, which we measure by the number of jobs available. Finally, we're only sharing findings here which are particularly interesting. So for a more detailed breakdown, please do check out the full 2023 salary report.
Thanks, Asmitha. So now we're going to talk about some of the market trends we've seen from our data. So in 2022, the UK experienced a candidate-driven market with more job vacancies than candidates available to fill them. We saw this in our own data with a 35% increase in jobs posted on our site since 2019. And at the same time, we saw a 13% decrease in demand as measured by the clicks that jobs get on the apply button. So the graph shows the number of jobs and average clicks on apply over time. So the number of jobs is the pink line and average clicks on apply is the blue line. So as you can see, during 2020, there was a big decrease in the number of jobs posted due to the impacts of the pandemic. This then began to increase in 2021 and it skyrocketed in 2022. And in March 2022, the UK actually experienced the largest number of job vacancies and the lowest rate of unemployment since records began over 50 years ago. So these trends that we're seeing weren't unique to the charity sector. As we go through this webinar, please bear this in mind. So bear in mind that we saw increases in the number of jobs across all categories and decreases in demand from candidates across all categories and all jobs. And something to keep in mind is that during the pandemic and subsequent lockdowns, many organisations slowed down recruiting due to the unstable and uncertain conditions. As a result, when life started to return to more normality and lockdowns were lifted, organisations also lifted their recruitment freezes and the number of jobs available dramatically increased. Looking at our data from the first quarter of 2023, we're beginning to see that signs that the recruitment market is starting to stabilise. We're seeing lower numbers of jobs this year compared to in the first quarter of 2022. However, we're still outperforming pre-pandemic levels. We are also starting to see signs of increased candidate demand for jobs.
If we now move on to look at some of the key trends from last year, the average salary for a job posted in 2022 was £34,800. This is a decrease of 3% from 2019. And this average reflects all jobs posted on the Charity Job website last year. As we mentioned earlier, in this report, we have only focused on those job categories with the highest number of jobs posted. And we haven't included categories where there were very few jobs, because any conclusions we would make about them would be based on very limited data. Some of these categories that are not included were housing management, retail, nursing, and care management. You also see during the presentation that the job categories we do mention all saw modest increases in salary. You might be wondering why we saw an overall decrease in average salary when all of the categories we talk about have seen increases. So the decrease could reflect a number of things. So it could be the increases in the number of remote working jobs, which typically pay less. And it could be the increases in lower paid role types, such as support worker roles and admin roles, which increased by 39% and 55% respectively. If we look at how working arrangements have changed since 2019, you can see from the pie charts that in 2022, hybrid and remote roles made up 47% of total jobs posted, compared to in 2019, where they only made up 4%. If we look at salaries across these roles, on-site roles used to have the highest average salaries in 2019, but in 2022, hybrid roles had the highest salaries at £35,900. This is probably because a lot of the roles that used to be on-site have now changed to being hybrid working roles. In 2022, remote roles posted on our site were in very high demand from candidates. So these roles got 6 times the number of clicks on the apply button than on-site jobs. Hybrid roles were also in high demand, and they were twice as popular as on-site jobs. So this suggests that since the pandemic, candidates have seen the benefits of new ways of working, and many want to embrace the flexibility that remote and hybrid working offer. So for charities who aren't able to offer the most competitive salaries, remote and hybrid working can help you to attract new talent. Where possible, you should offer these ways of working to all employees, and you should definitely highlight these as benefits in your job descriptions. So some of the categories we will cover in this report are fundraising, support workers, marketing, PR and digital, admin, policy, advocacy, governance and campaigns, finance, operations, business services, and HR. Moving on to look at the distribution of job numbers. So in this report, we look at 86% of total jobs posted on our site. So that's 53,000 jobs. And just as a reminder, there were 61,900 total jobs posted on the charity job website in 2022. The remaining 14% is made up of the smaller job categories, which we have chosen not to include. If we look at a breakdown of jobs per category, the graph shows the number of jobs in 2019 and 2022 for our top categories. The dark blue bars are 2019 and the pink bars are 2022. So as we can see, jobs in the support worker category have the highest number of roles available in 2022, followed by jobs in the fundraising category. In 2019, however, fundraising and support workers had around the same number of jobs on our site. In 2022, however, there were 31% more support worker jobs when compared to fundraising roles. The policy, advocacy, governance, and campaigns category saw the largest increase in number of jobs since 2019. So that was an increase of 66%. And this was followed by admin roles, which saw a 55% increase in jobs.
So despite the overall 3% decrease in the average salary for a charity role on our site in 2022 compared to 2019, all categories included in the report saw slight increases in salaries. So the table here shows average salaries for 2019 and 2022 for our main categories and the percentage change for 2019 to 2022. So jobs in the support worker category saw the biggest average salary increase of 13%. Jobs in the admin category and jobs in the business services category had the smallest average salary increases of 2%. Currently, salary increases are failing to keep up with inflation. We know that the charity sector pays less than other sectors on average. However, with the cost of living crisis, it's important that charities try to increase salaries where they can. Research has found that around 1 in 5 UK working adults are currently looking for a job that pays more money due to increases in the costs of living. So offering competitive salaries really is key for retaining your staff and also for attracting new talent, especially in this time. Later on in the webinar, we will also talk about other factors and benefits that are really important to candidates when considering new job opportunities. And these are things that you should sell and offer to candidates alongside the salary. For the next part of the webinar, we will talk through key salary trends across the 9 most common job categories. So please note, we are only focusing on areas where there's been something interesting to report or where there's been a big change. So for more information and a more detailed data breakdown, you can read the full salary report, which we will share after the webinar.
Moving to our first category, which is fundraising, we can see that in 2022, the average salary was £37,700, and this is a 4% increase from 2019, where it was £36,300. And in particular, average salaries for hybrid working roles increased by 18%, and this is compared to a 4% increase seen for hybrid working roles across all categories. Fundraising jobs make up 15% of total jobs posted on our site. If we look at the number of jobs by workplace, we can see that, as is to be expected, the number of hybrid and remote roles has increased significantly since 2019, whereas the number of on-site jobs has decreased by 50%. Looking at average salaries by organization size, you can see from the graph that in 2022, medium-sized charities had the highest average salary compared to in 2019, where small charities paid the most on average. If we look at salary by the different experience levels, we can see that large charities paid the most, except for at the manager and senior executive level, where medium-sized charities do. Salaries for junior, experienced non-manager, and management level roles increased by 9%, 5%, and 4% respectively from 2019. So the average salary for entry-level positions decreased by 4%, and senior executive and director salaries both also decreased by 9%.
So now we're going to talk about the support workers category. So this category includes support worker roles, advice and information roles, volunteer management roles, and then social care and social work roles. So the average salary for a support worker role in 2022 was £27,500. And this was a 13% increase from the average salary of £24,300 in 2019. Despite having a salary increase, the support worker category is the second lowest paying of the categories we talk about today. Also, support worker jobs are more likely to be on-site. So in 2022, 70% were on-site compared to 53% of all jobs. As we mentioned before, this is the category with the most number of jobs posted on our site. So in 2022, these jobs made up 20% of all roles on our site. This isn't too surprising, given that it is often these support worker roles that are on the ground delivering the important services and support that charities offer. Interestingly, the number of support worker roles has increased a lot since 2019, so increased by 39% from 8,900 roles to 12,400 roles in 2022. Now looking across pay by experience level and charity size, we can see that large charities pay the most for entry-level and junior roles. However, medium-sized charities pay the most for the experienced non-manager level, management level, and director level. We don't have this information for the senior executive level due to an insufficient number of support worker roles posted at medium-sized charities.
Moving on to marketing, PR, and digital, we can see that the average salary for these roles in 2022 was £36,800. So this was a 3% increase from 2019. Last year, the number of jobs in this category increased by 39% since 2019, resulting in these roles accounting for 10% of total jobs posted on our site. As with all the categories, there was a decrease in demand from candidates when compared to 2019. However, this category was the third most in demand from candidates of all the categories we talk about today. Looking at average salaries by experience level and organization size, you can see from the graph that large charities pay the most at all levels, except for at the senior executive level, where small charities pay the most. The next category we'll cover is admin. So the admin average salary was £26,200 in 2022, making this the lowest paying category in this report. But even though it was the lowest paying category, there was a 55% increase in the number of jobs posted on our site from 2019 to 2022. And in particular, the number of jobs at small charities increased by 90%. And admin jobs make up 11% of total jobs posted on our site. So in addition, this category also has the highest proportion of entry-level and junior roles. So those make up 48% of all admin roles. And this is compared to the proportion of entry-level and junior roles across all categories, which was 22%. Overall, admin roles are the second most in demand from candidates in 2022, which, as a reminder, is measured by looking at the average number of clicks on the apply button a job receives.
So now I'm going to talk about jobs in the policy, advocacy, governance and campaigns category. So the average salary for a job in this category is £36,200. And this was a 7% increase from the average salary of £33,700 in 2019. The number of jobs in this category increased a huge amount since 2019, so it actually increased by 66%, which is the highest increase we saw across categories. So in 2022, there were 4,800 policy, advocacy, governance and campaigns jobs, which make up 8% of the jobs overall on Charity Job. And interestingly, compared to the other jobs in other categories, jobs in this category were in highest demand from candidates in 2022. So these roles got the highest average number of clicks on the apply button. Looking at the subcategories, so policy, advocacy, governance and campaigns separately, we saw the number of jobs increasing across all subcategories. In particular, campaign roles increased by 86%. Looking across salary changes for the subcategories, we can see that governance roles actually saw a decrease in average salaries since 2019 of 6%. Campaigns and policy roles saw a 6 and 7% increase, and advocacy roles saw a 13% increase in average salaries.
Moving on to the finance category, we can see that the average salary for finance roles in 2022 was £49,300, making this the highest paying category of all the categories we cover today. So finance jobs actually account for 6% of total jobs posted on our website. If we look at average salaries by experience level and organization size, we can see that medium-sized charities pay the most at all levels, except for at entry level, where large charities pay the most.
So now I'm going to talk about the operations category. So this category includes operations and project management roles. So the average salary for a role in this category was £34,900 in 2022, which was a 3% increase from 2019. Operations roles are increasing in demand by recruiters, with the number of jobs posted increasing by 41% from 2019 to 2022, and they made up 6% of all jobs posted on our site overall. So these pie charts show the breakdown of jobs in the operations category by experience level. So 2019 is on the left and 2022 is on the right. So they show that there has been an increase in the proportion of experienced non-manager level roles from 52% in 2019 to 59% in 2022, and a decrease in entry-level roles from 12% in 2019 to 5% in 2022.
Looking at business services, so this category includes business development, IT, training, and vocational and services roles. The average salary for these roles saw a 2% increase from 2019, with an average salary of £37,700 in 2022 and £37,100 in 2019. The number of jobs in this category saw a considerable increase of 48% from 2019, which resulted in jobs in this category accounting for 6% of total jobs posted on our site. If we look at the average salaries across the subcategories, we can see that for 2022, IT jobs had the highest average salary at £45,700, while vocational and services jobs had the lowest average salary at £27,800. Jobs in this subcategory, so in vocational and services, also saw the highest increase in average salary, which was 11% since 2019.
So now we're moving on to our last category, which is HR. So the average salary for a HR role in 2022 was £42,600, and that's a 7% increase from 2019, where the average was £39,900. This is the second highest paying category of those we included today, so it's second to finance, which pays the most on average. There was a 35% increase in the number of HR roles posted on our site from 2019 to 2022. However, HR roles still only make up a modest 2% of all roles posted on our site.
So that brings us to the end of looking at the different categories of jobs. We are now going to share some headline insights into our candidates, their needs during the recruitment process, and the benefits that they value the most. So in October of last year, we surveyed all candidates who had used our site in the last 6 months to look for or apply for jobs. We asked them about the pain points they face in the recruitment process and what their advice to charities recruiting would be. We found that the two most common pain points candidates face in the recruitment process are, one, having to complete long application forms, which was reported by 59% of candidates, and not hearing back from recruiters about job applications, which was reported by 54% of candidates. Other common barriers faced by candidates include having to write cover letters, jobs having too many requirements, salaries not matching the responsibilities for the role, and a lack of transparency on hybrid and flexible working. We then went on to ask candidates for their advice to recruiters, and 7 main themes emerged from their responses. They want recruiters to be as clear as possible in job descriptions, and this applies to things like salary, flexible and hybrid working, office location, and job level. Next, they want recruiters to stop using long application forms and processes. Next was to give candidates feedback, and at the very least, to always let them know if they've been unsuccessful. The next was to reduce the number of requirements in the job description and make sure that the salary was appropriate for the level of responsibilities for the role. And then they want recruiters to be open to older candidates and those from outside the sector. And around 2/3 of our candidates are actually from outside of the charity sector. Next, they want recruiters to use CVs and not to ask for information elsewhere that is already on a CV. And lastly, they want recruiters to let candidates know if the closing date for a role changes.
In March, we also surveyed candidates about the job benefits and perks they receive and value the most. We shared a survey with all candidates who'd used our site in the last year, and we got over 1,400 responses. We asked candidates about the benefits and perks they currently receive and the ones which are most critical to them when considering job opportunities. So the most common benefits and perks that charity sector employees received were 1, 25 days annual leave, not including bank holidays. That was received by around 80%. Remote working options was also received by a similar percentage, followed by flexible working hours received by 7 in 10 of those charity sector respondents, and then 3 tea and coffee, training and development opportunities, and mental health and wellbeing support was received by around half. And when we went on to ask candidates about the top benefits which were most critical to respondents when considering new job opportunities, the top 5 benefits and perks that all candidates want are actually quite aligned to those most commonly offered. So the top one was 25 or more days annual leave again, followed by flexible working hours, remote working options, training and development opportunities, and finally, there was actually quite a high demand for the 4-day work week on full-time pay. Charity sector employees were actually more likely than non-charity sector employees to receive these benefits listed. However, other benefits like enhanced pensions, cycle to work scheme, and holiday purchase scheme were received by more non-charity sector employees. We went on to ask candidates how important the following factors were when considering job opportunities. So that was the salary, flexible working hours, remote working opportunities, organisation culture, diversity of the organisation, and organisation mission/purpose. So 91% of respondents told us that the salary is either important or very important. Interestingly, respondents were similarly as likely to see organisation culture and organisation mission/purpose as very important or important. This suggests that for charity job candidates, a fulfilling and meaningful job is about more than just a pay packet. Salary remains a vital factor for the majority of candidates. However, an organisation's culture, as well as its mission, also attracts candidates. Candidates want to work for a cause they're passionate about, surrounded by people equally as passionate in a positive working environment. We know some smaller charities are unable to compete with larger charities on salary. If this applies to you, we highly recommend that you focus on the benefits you can offer, such as a generous annual leave allowance and remote and flexible working opportunities. You should also sell your mission in your job descriptions and be clear on the impact that the role you're advertising has in helping to achieve that mission. If you want to find out more about the benefit survey, please do read our full salary report, which we will be sharing. And we will also be publishing more in-depth findings from the benefit survey in coming months, so keep your eyes out for that.
We are now coming to the end of this webinar, and we wanted to highlight some standout insights from the report. Policy, advocacy, governance, and campaigns jobs are the most in demand from candidates, so they get the highest average number of clicks on the apply button when compared to other categories. Support worker roles have the highest number of roles available, meaning those are in the most demand from recruiters. If we look at salaries, finance jobs had the highest average salary at £49,300, whilst admin roles had the lowest average salary of £26,200. For more detailed salary information, please do look at the salary report, which we will send out to everyone who is registered, but is also available to download on our website. In 2022, it was a really challenging year for candidates, for charities recruiting, due to the candidate-driven market, where there were more job vacancies available than candidates to fill them. And this applied to all job types and wasn't unique to the charity sector. We also want to briefly note that things are changing in 2023, and in the first quarter, we've seen that the number of jobs is leveling out post the huge increase last year, and the demand from candidates is starting to increase. So it looks like we are beginning to come out of a candidate-driven market, but the future of the recruitment market is uncertain given the uncertainties in our macro environment, such as the cost of living crisis. Since the pandemic, ways of working have changed dramatically. So in 2022, hybrid and remote roles made up 47% of all roles posted on our site, and that's compared to only 4% in 2019. We also know that these roles are wanted by candidates, and in particular, remote roles are in very high demand. So in 2023, charities should keep in mind that with the cost of living crisis, prices are going up, and so salaries need to better reflect this change going forward. Offering fair salaries is essential for attracting and retaining talent, as well as for promoting diversity, equality, and inclusion in the sector. We know that diversity isn't great in the sector, and offering fair salaries as well as attractive benefits is one way, in addition to using fair recruitment methods, which can help the sector to address this issue. So in addition to using this report to benchmark your salaries, please do check out our salary checker tool for the most up-to-date information. Using this tool, you can search for salaries by job title and filter by organization size and location. And this tool is available to anyone with a Recruiter account. So I'm now going to hand over to Claire and we'll take some questions from the Q&A. Just a reminder that for all the questions we don't get to answer now, we will follow up with you directly.
Thank you, Asmitha and Lucy. That was really interesting. Thanks so much for all of your hard work on that. Yes, I also just wanted to say that that salary checker is free to use as long as you have a charity job account. So anyone can use that. So the questions, I've got a few here and they're in no particular order. So the first one is, if candidates are more motivated by the organisational cause, why does salary matter so much and why should we look at increasing it?
Thank you, Claire. That's a really great question. And it is important to understand the significance of salary, even when candidates are motivated by organisational cause. So it is true that some candidates prioritise organisational cause and culture when considering job opportunities, but it's crucial not to overlook the importance of offering fair salaries. So firstly, salary does remain really important to the majority of candidates. So our benefits survey showed that around 9 in 10 consider the salary to be important or very important. So while it might not be the sole driving force kind of for their decision to apply, a fair and competitive salary definitely plays an important role in attracting top talent to your charity. Also, I think if we think about it from, offering low salaries, that can severely limit your candidate pool. So it will make it challenging if you want to attract and retain your staff. Candidates obviously have some financial obligations and personal goals that they want to fulfill. So if a salary doesn't align with kind of their expectations and market rates, this might discourage them from pursuing opportunities kind of at your charity. So offering competitive salaries, you demonstrate, it shows that you demonstrate your value of your employees and you recognise kind of their worth, which also helps, foster a sense of satisfaction and loyalty kind of among the workforce. Another kind of way to look at it is that fair salaries are also really important for promoting diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So if you offer kind of competitive compensation, you help to remove barriers that may disproportionately affect underrepresented groups. So when salaries kind of aren't aligned to those market rates, it might perpetuate wage gaps and kind of hinder any efforts that you're making to create a diverse and inclusive workforce. So yeah, providing fair salaries helps to level the playing field there and kind of encourage those people from diverse backgrounds to apply.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lucy. We've just had a question. Do we have a library with job description templates for the top 9 roles discussed that recruiters can access? As the way the job description is presented seems to have an impact on recruitment, which is a really good point. And just to let you know, that's something that we're thinking about at the moment. So watch this space. It's definitely something that we're exploring. Also, was there a mention of a 4-day week working? Because actually some charities do offer a 4-day week with full-time salary at 32 hours a week. I think actually, Lucy, you did answer that question in the benefits section. That was something that people were quite keen on.
Yes, absolutely. I think that came up as kind of, you know, the fifth most important thing to candidates. And that was just kind of to give you context. That was when they could select 5 of the most kind of important factors to them. So yeah, that really is attractive to candidates. And if you do offer that, that would definitely help increase your candidate pool.
Brilliant, thank you. There was just a question about where the salary checker is located in the recruiter section of our website. So what we'll try and do is send a link out to the salary checker as well when we respond and send out the slides and the recording to you. Another question was about support worker salaries. Someone was wondering if it could be low because it's more likely to be a regional salary.
So yes, that could be one of the reasons, since salaries outside of London tend to be lower than London-based roles. Another reason could be that support worker roles often focus more on providing care, assistance, and support rather than requiring extensive technical or specialized knowledge.
Okay, thanks, Asmitha. How do you stay competitive if you can't afford to increase salaries in line with inflation?
Thank you. So I guess firstly, if you're not able to offer a competitive salary in line with inflation, you should start by thinking about what's involved in the job and consider which tasks and requirements are absolutely essential for the role. And you should look to reduce your requirements and kind of focus on only those really essential ones. More specifically, I guess, in terms of not being able to offer high salaries, you can focus on other things that you can sell instead. So firstly, your cause and the mission and purpose of your organisation is definitely an important point of consideration for candidates. So we know that 76% of our candidates search for jobs by cause on our website. So a great way to attract candidates is by really selling your mission and your cause, and also being really clear on the impact that the role can have in helping to achieve that mission. Other things you can do are you should emphasize any flexible, hybrid or remote working that you offer. So as our data showed, remote roles in particular got around 6 times more clicks and apply than on-site roles, which is massive. And hybrid roles were twice as popular as on-site jobs. So we know this type of working is in demand. And if you are able to offer a role as remote or hybrid, it will greatly increase your candidate pool. And finally, you should also sell the other benefits you can offer in your job and your charity culture. So our benefits survey found that things like a good annual leave allowance, training and development opportunities, those are really important to candidates. And also a positive working environment is super important to candidates. So you should definitely emphasize those in your job descriptions.
Great, thank you. A quick question was, do findings from the candidate survey correlate with the clicks on apply that a role gets?
Yes, that's a really interesting question. And actually, that's totally right. So the main points from the candidate survey, which came out, was number 1, completing long application forms as a massive pain point for candidates. And we know that this puts off candidates from actually applying. And our data shows this too. So jobs which require application forms get only 1/3 of the applications of jobs which don't require application forms. And also the second main pain point was not hearing back from employers about job applications. And when we followed up with respondents about this, 79% of them said that they'd be less likely to reapply to a charity who had ignored their previous application, which is obviously a huge number of people. And not only kind of does it might stop them from applying for your job, but it also demonstrates the negative impact that that can have on your employer brand. Other things also, yeah, they do correlate with clicks and apply. So we know remote and hybrid working are in high demand. So that was shown in the benefits survey. But we also know that from our actual data. So as I just said, remote roles get around 6 times the amount of demand, then on-site jobs and hybrid roles get around double the amount. Then kind of in terms of the other factors that came up from our research, we don't have a clear idea on if and how they correlate with sort of clicks and apply yet. However, we are fairly confident that there would be a relationship. So it's definitely something we are looking to explore further.
Just going back, someone said that application forms are linked to safer recruitment guidance. So they were interested in how to ensure that if they're only accepting CVs. One of the ways that we could do this is using screening questions at the application process, just, 4 or 5 screening questions, so you have consistency. So yeah, if you want to ask us more about that, please do get in touch. Another question we've had is, did we say that the average salaries are predominantly London-based?
Yes, so most of the jobs posted on our site are London-based. I don't have the exact number to hand, but I can definitely check that and follow up with you after this.
Great, thank you. Someone said that interesting to see the survey had candidates requesting CV only. We don't use CVs to allow a blind recruitment process that's bias free. So do we think that candidates are asking for CV only for ease? How can we communicate better in our adverts why we don't use CVs? I mean, one thing you can do is use anonymous recruitment, which we do have on our site. So you can still use CVs, but relevant details are removed. So you reduce bias at the beginning of the stage of recruitment. Another question we've had is, do we have any insight into why the policy, governance and campaigns category saw such a steep rise? I don't know that we do. I'll ask Asmitha that. I mean, we're very reliant on what our recruiters post. So I don't know that we do have any insight, but it's potentially something that we could explore. Asmitha, do you have anything to add to that?
So no, we don't have any insight into that. As I mentioned, we do rely heavily on recruiters to categorize and classify jobs they post, but unfortunately, we don't collect that kind of information. It could be something we look into, though. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And we've still got lots of questions coming in, so I'm probably just going to ask a couple more and we'll finish the webinar, but we will respond, we'll go through the chat and the Q&A section and answer as many questions as we can directly. Someone has asked where the term experienced is used. Is this for the role specifically, or does it include experience in the charity sector? Do we have any stats on people moving from private and public sectors to the charity sector? On the latter part, I think there are some stats that we can potentially provide you on movement into the charity sector. I do know that we have a huge percentage of candidates who on our site who are looking for roles in the charity sector that are currently out of sector but have massively transferable skills. In terms of where the term experienced is used, Asmitha and Lucy, do you know if that's for the role specifically? I would presume it actually is,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you have any insight on that.
Yeah, so it is for the role specifically. Each sort of experience level is based per job. And again, it's based on how recruiters classify those jobs.
Great, thank you. And the final question for the moment on the call is, when we did the benefit survey, did we provide a list of options for candidates to choose from, or did they list themselves? Lucy, perhaps this one is one you can take.
Yeah, sure. So yes, we provided a list of benefits they can choose from, and that's kind of based on our desk research and some other research to work out what are sort of benefits that anyone in the UK kind of could receive or might want, considering that, like Claire said, a lot of our candidates aren't actually in the charity sector currently. So we have got the full list with the kind of full breakdown of how many candidates currently receive them and how many candidates kind of valued them as one of the top things that they are looking for in their next role, and that is in the salary report, which we will be sharing with you. And yeah, we will also, like I said, be doing kind of another report with more detailed insights from the benefits survey and publishing that kind of incoming months. So keep an eye out for that. But I've just realised I sort of missed a bit of the question there about, could they provide another one as well if they did receive a different benefit? And yes, there was an option as well to provide kind of any other benefits they received in case we missed any in our categorisation of the benefits.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, guys. I think I'm going to leave it there for questions, but we will respond to everyone as best we can.
Awesome. Thank you.
So that brings us to the end. Thank you all so much for joining us today. It's been so lovely having you. So we will be sharing a copy of the salary report, the webinar recording, and the webinar slides later on today. Over the coming months, we will be holding more webinars, so please do keep your eyes open for more information on those. And again, thank you so much, and we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.